Cheers, good evening, good day, good night. I hope this stream finds everyone well. True Patriot here, also known
Cheers,
as...
good evening.
Sorry about
good
that,
day.
folks. I don't know why that come through like that. It's supposed to be muted. But anyway, touched on a couple topics during the course of last night's live stream, which some people may have difficulty with. And I thought that some of it should be touched on just a little bit more in depth, just a little bit more thorough tonight. Now, I'm not going to go through trying to teach you coding or teach you Visual Basics or Cobalts or how to program a computer start to finish, but just some smart tips, tricks, and techniques which may afford you just a little bit more anonymity. And this isn't to suggest or insinuate that any of you are or have or will consider doing anything wrong, but everything that you do, say, visit, view, write, answer, question is constantly under a pretty extreme amount of scrutiny. Maybe you visited a website 5 years ago, and now all of a sudden, here 5 years later, the owners of that website have been convicted of a so-called federal crime, and in the process of that due process proceeding, the customer records were turned over to the feds. And you just happen to be somebody that just happened upon that site 5 years ago. Now they're looking at you. They're trying to find ways to connect dots that don't even exist. It's not about, the question should not be whether or not one is paranoid. The more pressing issue is, are you paranoid enough? Now, the average individual never monitors his or her network activity. They're not even aware when they go online just how much is being recorded, just how much can be deduced about them and their personal life based off of what they're finding. And it's sad, because it's not that we're trying to hide. It's not that we're necessarily doing anything wrong, but fuck, if it's in the middle of the night and there's someone snooping in my backyard uninvited, to me, that's a threat to my security of my domain. Whether or not my domain means this here fucking shitty ass couch in the middle of this dirty living room, whether that domain is my fucking cell phone, whether that domain is my daughter's iPad. It's not about, the question isn't whether or not I am or am not engaged in an activity that some may construe as not lawful or not legal. A lot of things get taken out of context. A lot of things get looked into from the wrong perspective. Some states, if you're caught peeing, if you walk out of a bar room at 3 o'clock in the morning and you piss behind a tree before you get in your piece of shit truck on your way home, and a cop happens to drive by, you now have to register nationwide as a sex offender because you got caught peeing beside a tree out behind some fucking shithole bar, some bumfucked fucking hole in the wall town somewhere. That being said, that data, that stream, it gets used by different people for different reasons all the time. Perth Observer, thank you for being in chat. Mother Nature, cheers, greetings to you as well, friend. We had a pretty good live stream last night, and I touched on a few topics with regards to cybersecurity and anonymity. And I just felt compelled that for a lot of the lay people out there that may not be altogether tech savvy, if they're going to be using dangerous softwares such as Microsoft, such as Apple iOS, such as Facebook, I feel compelled to let them know what they're getting themselves into and just some elementary steps that they may or may not be able to take to protect themselves. I did mention some yesterday, but there again, my mind works in a more analytical fashion. So if this shit's easy to me, but then again, depending on who I'm talking to, who that audience is, it might sound Greek to them. And I didn't want there to be any miscommunication with regards to the importance of security last night. So I figured I'd go live. If anybody wants to jump on the panel with me, that's cool. If not, hey, that's cool too. Some of this may be kind of monotonous. Some of this may be kind of boring. But it is important that we go through some of this stuff. I don't know which is first. You can notice from the cam in your upper left-hand side of the screen, there's a piece of shit, typical average device. When I say device, in that instance, it's a portable device. This could mean your iPad, your iPhone. We happen to be looking at a piece of shit LG Rebel 3 Android-based operating system cellular device. It could just as easily be a tablet. For the purpose of demonstration, we'll call that a portable device. The other cam, of course, pointing on my ugly ass mug, and then, we're looking at the computer, whatever the fuck. I don't know if anybody will be able to see them right now. There are links. There will be links in the description of this video. And I just want to go through some of this stuff. And as I go through it, I want to show you how I would do it. Just like I'm going to pretend like I'm a fucking moron, and I'm going to go through these steps, and I'm going to tell you why I'm going through these steps. As I go through them, I'm going to try to explain some of this stuff I'm not really going to be able to I'm not going to be able to verbalize in a way that makes much fucking sense. It's like I know it a little better than I can verbalize it. Anyway, I don't want to start with the device first, because fuck, I hate them things. I'm going to start with the site that I went to last night, and it goes through 6 programs that are awesome. And if you're using anything post Microsoft 7, Microsoft 7 was okay. So for you people, I'm not really talking about you right now. If you're using Microsoft Windows 8 or Microsoft Windows 10, these are going to be important. And I'm just going to do them. Even though I've already done them, I'm going to pretend like nobody's ever seen it, nobody's ever done it, and we're just going to go through it together. So bear with me. I'm going to pull up a display share. And, well, before I do that, let me put the link in the chat that we're going to. And this is 6 free tools to disable and stop Windows 10 from spying and tracking you. We're going to go through these together. And these do recall that you do reboots. And since we are live, this is a live stream, I'm not going to be rebooting. But when we get to them areas, I'll tell you that that's what's going on that way. But in your own, if you happen to use these, which I strongly suggest everyone do, of course, you're going to want to reboot. Canadian, poor man's grow. Cheers, brother. Thank you for being here. I see you, friend. Now, I see everybody. I'm going to miss chat for a minute because we're going to pull up display capture and Have some fun. Fuck around with some electronic bullshit. I know it's tedious and boring and nobody wants to hear it, but purposes of security, it's probably important. Here we go. We'll pull back up our browser. The site that I just popped up here in chat, there we are. We're 6 free tools. We're going to start at the top of our list. We're going to go with one, which is called OO. Shut up. O plus O. Shut up 10. Open link in a new tab. Okay. I can even get on all the add-ons that I'm using currently on Chrome, as well as Microsoft or Mozilla Firefox, which I use as well. I use several browsers, but anyway. Okay, that's done downloading. So we'll go here, we're showing folder. We're going to run this as administrator, which means we, it's what we did here. We come down, we know it's done downloading. Okay, we're going to show it in the folder. There it is. There's the download. We're going to right click on the download. We're going to left click our mouse, run as administrator. The reason we're wanting to run as administrator, I don't know how many of you, I don't know, are you just a guest user on your Windows 10 based PC? Are you are you using mommy and daddy's computer? Are you using the old lady's computer? Are you an admin on that device? Are you just a guest user? We don't know. So just run as administrator. Okay. As I told you last night, most of these programs are pretty much self-explanatory. It's usually like green, yellow, red. Green, any fucking idiot can click it, use it. They're probably not going to fuck nothing up. Yellow, you're getting in areas where you could potentially cause complication depending on what you're using or what you do. Red, unless you're fucking tech savvy or are able to think for self and do diligent research, leave them the fuck alone. I told you I'm going to pretend like I'm the fucking idiot and I'm just going to do it. I'm going to go with apply only the recommended settings. There we go. Do you want to create a restore point? You don't want to create a restore point. I know that that is encouraged. I know that you're taught that that's the safe thing to do. The reason you don't want to create a restore point is because if something's going on and you do something to alter it, however you create a restore point, when you restore that point, there's a chance, like say if I have a virus and I go back to a restore point, there's a chance that I'll carry the virus with me. If you fuck up your computer, you get a new computer, you redo your computer. But anyway, long story short, no. I do not. Before the first change, you should create a restore point. Fuck you. I do not want to create a restore point. It will secure your system and enable you to return to the state you were originally in. Well, we're not doing nothing catastrophic. Nothing that could potentially be catastrophic. So we don't need to do a restore point. We're clicking no. Fuck you. Now, here's some of the things that were just disabled. Sharing of handwriting data. Camera and log on, advertising ID, blah, 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 blah. Just a bunch. You see all this shit? Okay. That one's done. Now, of course, even though I just did this, if I were to go and reboot this computer now and then run, like, say, Windows updates, and it found 2 or 3 updates, there's a good chance that some of the back doors that Microsoft has put into my system would be reactive. So I would then have to run this again. What I always suggest to people, don't ever do Windows Update. When you first set up your PC, get it up to date. Get everything current. After you know that everything works and you know everything is current, you turn off them motherfucking Windows updates. And it would behoove you to run a program called Remove What? Remove and capital letters W-A-T. And what that stands for is Windows Activation Technology. Because Windows Activation Technology puts certain entries in your computer's registry your operating system's registry, which allow Microsoft and your computer to basically, Microsoft keeps tabs on you and your computer keeps tabs on you, and your computer then in turn shares with Microsoft everything it's learned about you. Okay. So see this first one? See how easy that was? Now on this one particularly, you could even go with the yellow. We ain't gonna worry about it. We're done. It's saying, do you want to close? Oh, shut up 10. Please note settings may possibly revert to their previous state following Windows updates. I just went over all that. No, I don't want to reboot it. If you all are doing this at home, of course you will want to reboot it. Yes, I want to close it. No, I don't want to restart Windows. Get rid of some of this shit. I don't even know why I had it on here anyway. Okay. Back here. We're going to shut that window and we're going down to our next program. The next one's going to take us a little bit longer. It's an excellent program though. Clicked on it. We're going to the English home. Since I'm speaking English, I'm going to, of course, use the English one. All right. We're over here at our English home. We're going over here to download. Fuck all that. We're going to go down here to the very first one. It's the top of the list. We're going to save that. I suggest installing, as far as a zipping or unzipping program for your files, I would strongly suggest using Windows RAR, excuse me. And you can use the free one and never get the paid version. And you will never have an issue with that. It's a free software. When I get a second, I will put a link to that software as well in the chat box. We're going to go here. We're going to right click. We're going to extract everything right here. Then we are going to right click on our executable file and run it as administrator, as we just previously done. This one takes a little bit of time, but this is a fairly extensive program. Of all of the privacy tools that I will use on a person's Windows-based PC. This is my favorite, hands down. This is the best, or one of the most complete, rather. It does take a minute. Apologies, folks. It takes a minute, and you're going to see why. No, we do not wish to create a restore point. Now, the steps that you're watching me do are not the steps that I do. These are the steps that you, the layperson, so that you can be safe, secure, and not risk any damage to any file systems or any problems, yet still secure your system and stop mainly Microsoft, but also Facebook from spying on you. What you're going to do is you want to go through here, and you've got a tab here. You've got a tab here, a tab here, a tab here, a tab here, a tab here. You've got lots of tabs. Go through, and you're going to click all of the green boxes. Every single green box. Every single one. Every single one. And there are a lot of them, and this is going to take a minute. Deny apps the access to my notifications. And I'm going to use that as an example, because what Microsoft does is Microsoft puts backdoors everywhere. For instance, the app's access to my notification. Let's say you, you set up you've clicked everybody's bell on YouTube, all your favorite YouTube subscribers, right? So you're somebody within the 420 community. Well, guess what? Every time one of your little weed tuber buddies uploads a new video, Windows will give you a notification. Hey, one of your little fucking pothead friends just uploaded a new video. But your computer also notifies Microsoft that you just received that notification. And that's the tip of the iceberg, which isn't even putting it mildly. Now, there are some that, in my purposes, that I won't block, and that is access to my camera, access to my microphone. And the reason being, because I live stream. So you can go down through, and when you find those, you can leave those unchecked. Okay, it should be all of our green ones. Yes, okay. Now, if you'll notice, these have already pre-checked. And what this is, these are adding rules within Microsoft's firewall that is stopping Microsoft from communicating back and forth with this computer. You want that. Leave them alone. Just don't even fuck with it. Leave it alone. Leave these alone. Leave them alone. Explore. Here we go. We got to start fucking. We got more we have to check. Any of the green ones. Services is already done. Edge. If you're using fucking Edge, Internet Explorer or Edge, either one, you're a fucking idiot. I know you didn't know. Do yourself a favor. Get Mozilla Firefox. Learn how to use it. If you just absolutely can't use Mozilla Firefox, then use fucking Google Chrome. Use Safari. There are options. Do not use Internet Explorer or Edge. They are not safe ever. There is nothing you can do that will make them safe. Microsoft isn't going to do you no favors. They are not your friend. OneDrive, that shit. It takes an act of Congress to try to remove OneDrive, but I always do any chance I get. Disable the biometric login, of course. And matter of fact, let's take a break from this and run over to here real quick. You can go over here to your little search bar. You can type in msconfig, and that's going to pull up a screen right here, right? You need to be going over here too as well. Go to services, and there's a lot of shit that you need to get rid of. And especially stuff with regards to remote access, stuff that's regarding biometrics. And I'm not going to do this. We'll save that for another video another time. You people just don't know how devious Microsoft is. Did we get it all? Did we get it all? Yes, we did. I'll go back to firewall. We got some firewall rules to deal with. Yeah, firewall is good. Background apps. Now see, camera, I'm going to leave that unchecked. Disable background functionality for the app camera. I leave that unchecked. I leave my microphone and my camera stuff unchecked, but mainly that's for the purposes of live streaming, and I'm lazy and I don't like to have to redo the fucking shit all the time. Excuse the language. Now, when you get into system apps, there's some of these apps that some people use. I don't fucking use none of them. I don't want nothing that Microsoft's got, because I know they're a bunch of bullshitting ass motherfucking snitching, fucking working with the fucking feds, narc fucking pieces of shit, fucking parasites. And but anyway, some of you may use some of the apps, and if you do use the apps, of course you don't want to uninstall the app if you use it. Then you're going to go drop down here, your set change settings. Okay, blah, blah, blah. It's going to tell you that you should reboot it. After you get done, whatever. Of course, for me, it was a lot quicker than it will probably be for you. That's because, like I said, I run these all the time. We're going to drop down. While that's doing its deal, we're going to come over here. We're going to go ahead and get out of this page, and we're going to get started working on the download as well as installation and shit of our next one. This is the third one, and this is just called Disable When Tracking. And what you're going to want here is you're going to want the, where's the exe? Okay. You're going to want to download the exe file. Of course, all of the source code and shit for this application can be found here, but we're keeping this easy. We're just going to go right here to download the exe. Where's my fucking little download button? Blah, blah, blah. There we go. Okay. Now that that's done, we can close out of it. Oh, that was quick. Okay. Good deal. All right. Get rid of this shit so it doesn't complicate matters and make us get confused. Same thing. We're going to right click on our mouse. We're going to left click, run it as administrator. Now, here, we're going to go through here and we're going to just click everything. Everything it will allow us. Yes. Ignore any warning messages that this particular program gives you. Look through all this shit. We're not going to want to delete them. We're just going to hit go. And what this has done, this has went through the registry and it has modified some of these keys that they're again preventing Microsoft from connecting and communicating back and forth with the computer. This is entirely legal. This will not in any way, shape, or form void any warranty on any device as well. It's not something oh man, he's teaching me how to hack something. No, it isn't about that. Although I could teach you that. That's not what we're dealing with. The purpose of this live stream is not concerning. Back over here, X out of that. Damn it. I closed the wrong tab now. I feel stupid. It's okay. We can just pull it up again. Fourth one of these, they're charging you nowadays, and I don't remember which one it was. Anyway, it don't matter. Now, what I typically do is I would just go right in here and make this real easy. Don't fucking fuck with none of this shit over here. Just go right down here, enable all recommended options. Left click your mouse. No, we don't want to create any restore point. Now, it's suggesting I restart. Now, for you people at home, you need to be restarting your computer between each one of these separate software applications. Run the application, close out of it. When it's done, reboot the computer, then go on to the next. That is an important step that I can't stress enough. Now, down to 5. No. And you can use a shampoo. I don't use it. I have used it. It's a good one. 6 is always good. We want that. I want just the regular executable. Latest release. Where's the fucking. So how do I. Okay. There's how to get it. Ah. Get to this cloner download. Download the zip. That should do it, I believe. I believe. What we're looking for is the executable fucking file, which we are not seeing. Do not know. Why are we not seeing the executable? Okay, there we go. We can do this one. I'm going to disable Windows Registry, and the way I'm going to do that is, we'll notice what I did. I'm hoping that's not all we have in this. So there we go. We unzipped the file using WinRAR, and when we unzipped it using WinRAR, it took us over here. And this is Destroy Windows Spying. That's what the DWS stands for. Why is none of my other windows popping up, though? That ain't worth a fact. It should do more than just eliminate Windows Defender. I don't know why that's not working right. Anyway. Resources. There we go. And we're going to right click and we're going to click merge. And what that is going to do is it's going to merge this edited registry entry with the current registry entry, and thus disable Windows Defender. You don't really want to use Windows Defender anyway. It's not that it's bad. What's bad is, there again, it's the communication back and forth between Microsoft and your device. And most of you should be using a good antivirus program. Now, personally, and I'm not just going to shoot you no shit, personally, I have always used the free version of Avast. I don't know how good or how bad it is, but I know that to date I have downloaded approximately 50,000 copyrighted movies and burned them and sold them and traded them and give them away, and I have never gotten a virus. I was real big into the torrents, never got a virus. So, I mean, that's something to be said about Avast. Anyway, now that concludes running those programs. Now, once you've done that, your computer should be fairly secure insofar as it shouldn't be communicating back and forth to Microsoft all the time. I'll go through a few of these links that I got right here. This is an old one. This is dated. This is from back in, I don't know, 2011, 2012. It's just a good go-to guide. I'm not going to go through this entire guide. This is basically, think of it like a guidebook. It's something you can read and something you can go through on your own accord and familiarize yourself with some more thorough, more in-depth tips, tricks, and techniques. Most of you know how to find me. I say that because if you come across something that you need additional help with on that front, let me know. Throwing that in chat. Here we go. And we're going to close it out. We're going to get back out of here. This is another one, and this is about dealing with eliminating targeting for the purpose of data trafficking that Google, in addition to others, go through. And this gives you how to opt out of those. And the opt-out process is pretty straightforward. You basically just have to You have the legal right to opt out, but that right is not exercised until you, the consumer, you, the citizen, exercise said right. And you want to opt out of all of them. Yeah. Anyway, let's go through one of them and show you. This is Google shared endorsements, opt out. And this is telling me, based on my activity, Google may show blah, 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 blah. Hell no, I don't want you showing shit. Here we go. So I'm going to uncheck that. Because you motherfuckers ain't showing shit. Fuck Google. Anyway, now we got to go down and we're going to opt out of interest-based advertisements. Had personalizations on. Well, fuck you, sons of bitches. We're turning you off. Turn it off. Okay, good. Got it. Because I don't want you motherfuckers tracking a motherfucking thing I do. It ain't none of your fucking business where I buy my cannabis seeds. It ain't none of your fucking business whether I watch fucking midget porn, ebony porn, gay porn. It don't fucking matter. It's none of your concern. And I don't want you looking into that shit trying to sell me some fucking cheap, more likely to bust, outdated, junky fucking condoms from the fucking UK anyway. Or whatever it is you use your fucking targeted advertisements for. Facebook social ads. Oh, yes. It's going to ask me to log in. Good deal. Let's log in. I should be opted out. Yes. See, now I've already went through here. When you sign into your Facebook is probably going to show different. See, mine are not allowed because I had already chosen to disable Facebook's ability to use targeted advertising as a way of connecting with me. But it's not set that way by default. So there is no change needed. But for you all, it's probably going to be different. Twitter's tailored ads. I think I disabled Twitter's as well. I might not have. Privacy, safety, that shit. Yes, see, I've got mine turned off. Personalization and data, it's already turned off. But for a lot of you, those things are not going to be turned off. Now, this next page, and again, these are ways of stopping Google from 5 tricks, tips, and techniques you can go through. We'll leave this open because we should go through this on the phone, but I'm going to take a second, take a drink of this iced tea here. I'm going to turn off display capture, turn this cam back on because I'm going to use this other cam here in a second. We'll just probably go through this on the device. I wanted to talk about and show a couple things with regards to Facebook and the devices and how to stop Facebook from tracking everything on your fucking device. So, pull up that. Get rid of display capture momentarily. That way it'll give me the ability to see chat again. All right. Where are we at? Oh, shit. Breaking cameras. Oh, hey. It's like it's zoomed in or something. All right. One minute. Earth Observer. Cheers, friend. You're still here. Canadian Poor Man's Grow had to go. He says bye. What all did I miss out on? Dale Core. You were here. Mother Nature. Hopefully you're still here. Where we at? Just excellent. Nobody wants to jump on a panel and talk shit to me while I'm doing all this. What are you scared of? Cat got your tongues? Does the cat got everybody's tongue? Is that what's really going on? Oh, fucking cat got their tongue. Scared to talk. He's talking about all that computer bullshit. He's liable to fucking hack me and try to watch me take a shower or something through my cell phone. Oh, gosh, I can't do it. That was a joke for entertainment purposes only. But anyway, I'm throwing this next link in chat is the Hangouts if anybody wants to come on and shoot the shit. Not mention anybody specifically or nothing. Perth Observer. Sound minds where you at. Roll a cigarette, drink some of this tea. And this stuff is tedious and monotonous. But when you get to the point where you go out to your mailbox, you ever wonder why there's all that junk mail in your mailbox? Do you ever wonder why there's all of that junk mail in the in your inbox on why is that so fucking zoomed in like that? But anyway, they're targeting you. They're targeting you all the time. And that's where all that junk mail is coming from. There. Okay, now I see. Okay. Now I see the light. I was blind, but now I see. Okay. And then this way we get to see that big spooky cat. Oh, I'm sorry, Spooky. You were sleeping. I interrupted you. But this is why you get all that junk mail. And this is where it comes from. And targeted advertising. I had a smart TV once. I was watching Clint Eastwood, Any Which Way But Loose. Y'all remember he's riding around. He's got the orangutan, a Clyde. What was that? Left Turn Clyde or something. Anyway, I'm watching Any Which Way But Loose. I got the smart TV. It's all plugged into the internet, and I thought it was cool. I could hit a fucking button on the remote and go to YouTube's and Google Hangouts, and it fucking... Initially, it was cool. Well, the one day I'm watching Any Which Way But Loose, and my buddy, he calls me up on a landline phone. He's like, dude, I got some killer pot, man. You need to come burn a joint of this shit. Well, he was my neighbor. Well, hell, let me pause the movie, man. Put some shoes on. I'll be right there. I paused the movie. And I go to his house and smoke the joint and shit. I come back and I'm going to start my movie back. And the smart TV had disconnected from the movie. Had changed the input from... I had it on HDMI, whatever, for my computer, but it had changed the input over to the smart TV's own browser, and it had went to a storefront that was selling 420 merchandise, and in the 420 merchandise there was an Any Which Way But Loose shirt. And the orangutan and Clint Eastwood and shit were stoned. And I thought, man, that's fucking creepy. What the fuck? Was the TV listening to me? I don't know. That's what got me thinking about beefing up some of my cybersecurity just a bit. And that actually took place. That was several years ago. I guess about 7 years ago. And it was a rude awakening when you think you're walking around with a cell phone. Your kids are running around the house with the tablets, and the wife's got the iPhone, and your car has built-in navigations and fucking OnStars, and what all is it listening to, and what is it doing with all of the data that it's taking in? I'm not saying it's all bad. I'm not trying to be a conspiracy theorist, an alarmist. I'm just saying that we need to take our privacy a little more seriously than it seems like we do nowadays. Well, my screen had a screensaver, and you could go into the settings for the observer, and you could change. I did put a link. I've put fucking. Oh, I remember it's doing the same thing it did yesterday because I'm not an admin on my own fucking channel. I'm sorry. That means all the links I put earlier I've got to repost as well. What the? Oh, fucking shit. I did put them in the video's description. So when this live stream's over, folks, they will be there. But that still blows because I put several earlier as well. Here's the Hangouts link, though. Oh, man. Fucking Google. I mean Google. I didn't mean to say that. I fucked up. It was an accident. I wasn't trying to be like a bigot in any way, shape, or form. Not all of us white trash piece of shits are bigots. I might be, but not all of us are. Faraday cage all of your electronics if possible when not in use. I do have lead shielding around most of the devices, Froggy Master 77, and my reason isn't protecting the electronics. Unfortunately, things do things to me. I'll just leave it at that. It's a fucking rough world some of us have to live in. You mean they get in your head and talk to you? Yes, they get in my head and talk to me. And sometimes they're hard to silence. And when you can't silence them, if any of you don't know what it's like to stay up for 15, 17, 20 days, it's not something I'd wish on anyone. It's not good. Hey, Perth, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can.
Oh, where's that remote?
Oh, listen, congrats on the number of views. That was awesome.
Yeah, that's the best since in the last two channels that they've pulled down. That's the record since 2 channels ago.
Because I was watching something and it come up on the side, like, you know, where they do the recommended for you. Yeah. And I spots the number and I thought, hang on a minute, is YouTube fucking around with the view numbers all over again? And then I came across to have a look, and sure enough, it said 70 something. I thought, yo, go hey.
That's surprising. It's definitely surprising. I get 2 of my YouTube, 2 of my Facebook profiles back too this week. It's going to be a good week. I get 2 of my Facebook channels back this week. I've not had any death threats in like 4 days, and
that's good.
77 fucking views on a live stream. It's surprising. Oh, I didn't get any. There were no thumbs down last time I checked either.
It's the full moon.
Yes, because that's when my supporters come out. The lunar ticks. Yeah. It's when the crazy fuckers come out. See, I'm accepted amongst the crazy fuckers. It's the average, everyday, useless eater that can't stand me.
Hey, listen, you'll grow on them like I do, like a fungus.
Oh, yes. Let's do this here. I'm going to pull it up here.
You know what happens when you travel someplace and you're not used to the climate, whatever, and first you're putting a jumper on and you don't need a fucking jumper really, and then you acclimatize, and then you're walking around in a singlet top. Well, you know, that's how it goes. We'll get you acclimatized. Should I say we'll get them acclimatized to you?
Trying to. Let's see.
Hey, listen, with that computer stuff that you were doing, yeah. I did hear what you said about Windows 7 because I run Windows 7.
Windows 7 is a lot more secure.
I know, because it does a clean install.
Well, it doesn't. It's not just that. It was prior to Patriot Act. It wasn't affected as much, and a lot of the stuff that Windows does now, spying, is the result of it being a Five Eyes corporation. All right, so let's see here. Man, I gotta make that in a way that we can all see it. Ah, you son of a bitch. Let's just play with it in our lap. How about that? There we go. Apologies for how shaky all this shit is.
No dramas, do what you gotta do.
Well, what I want to try to do is... Okay, so you're on your piece of shit device here. Let me see. Piece of shit device. You go to your piece of shit device and you've got a settings button. You're going to go into your settings button. Ah, fuck. That is, that's one of them good programs. That is, that program there is called, it's called a pilfer shush jammer. Come on. And that's a really good program. That's one of the ones that I talked about yesterday that actually generates tones. So if there was a listening device that I wanted to bypass, down here on the bottom of that application, man, this is just not going to cooperate, is it? That's what I got to do. I got to turn down something. Where's that piece of shit deal here? That's off. I compensate for the light. That's what I got to do. Apologies. I've got like fucking, I'm not really.
Don't apologize to me. It looks good to me.
Stuff.
All looks good on this end.
I'm just trying to figure out how to show stuff. How do I show on the device how I'm doing stuff? The brightness is the problem. But anyway, I could go right here to this little passive thing. I can turn that little passive thing on. And what it does is it generates tones. And those tones, let me put it on first. And there we go. Passive jam service started. Good. Turn it on active. All right. Of course, that's pretty loud. You wouldn't necessarily want to have it that loud because that would make what you're doing obvious. You'd turn that down. Now, I do need to be able to fucking put this in a display mode of some sort. All right. So, close out all this shit. Close all that out. Anyway, you would go to your settings. Depending on your version of Android, this may be just a little bit different. But you're going to go to apps. Once you get into your settings tab, you're going to go into apps. And if you've got a Facebook app, of course mine, I don't know if anyway, it's not going to let me show you all this shit, is it? Fuck. And I can talk about it, but it's not the same as showing you. You sons of bitches, just fucking let me show people shit.
Can you? What about if you put it in front of your face there instead of using a second camera? Yeah, no, it's still.
It's not good. Okay.
There it is. No, there it goes.
So Facebook. Now mine is disabled.
That's it.
But we're for shits and giggles, we're gonna fucking enable it, and we're even gonna try to log into it and shit just to see. Which it won't matter when I get done. I'll disable all of this shit again. The reason I want to do this is because it's one of them things where the average person should just know that just how they do. I mean, the minute that you enable it, it's already done a bunch of shit. It's already, I mean, I've not even fucking done nothing. All I did was click enable, and it's already looking through my fucking computer, my phone. Right. Now, to use the Facebook app, you grant Facebook access to several things. You grant Facebook access to the Android operating system. You grant Facebook access to your camera. You grant Facebook access to your microphone. You grant Facebook access to your contact list. Now, all of this stuff that they have access to is any device that you use their application on. You can't stop them from collecting that data. You can't determine how they use, market, or profit from that data. More importantly, Facebook is a Five Eyes corporation. What this means is if the United States federal government goes to Facebook and says, hey, we need every bit of metadata that you can potentially collect from such and such person. We need all of it, everything. What Facebook provides the federal government is everything they have access to, because you have used their application of your own free will. You have legally granted them access to that data. A lot of times nowadays, there are a lot of, this is where it gets sick and twisted. Let's say I go to a popular porn website, and let's say I watch pornography on my device. Let's say it is later determined that the particular model in that porn video was under the age of 21. Some places it's 21. Some places it's older than that. Some places it's 18. This depends on the country. This depends on the state. This depends on a lot of other variables. But for whatever reason, it's determined that that person was under a legal or lawful age for that area. And Facebook has turned over all of the information on my device to the so-called authorities. Well, now I'm automatically guilty of possessing or being at some point in possession of child pornography. Well, you should just never ever watch porn. Maybe that's true. Maybe that's not true. I don't know. That's just one way in which your data could be used against you without your consent, and you, of no knowledge whatsoever, were in the commission of a crime, and you didn't even know you were committing a crime. And this applies to not just here and now, like today, but this applies to the past as well. You used to you had a I don't know, you used to buy horse shit for your garden from some farmer out west. And that farmer out west was determined to be fucking, I don't know, he was running fucking crystal meth for some fucking Mexican cartel. And he goes to prison. Well, in the process of their seizing of all that farmer's records, you could pop up as a customer from some shell business that farmer had at one time. there's a good probability that they got that information about you, not from that farmer himself, but from Facebook, from Instagram, from Snapchat. I can't tell you how many times I've seen uh, a crack dealing black person post a Instagram photo of a stack of money, not drugs, not guns, and the federal government in turn goes to that black boy's house and kicks his door in, shoots his dog, seizes all his money. This is the type of events that you want to try to prevent. Now I'm going to see if it's going to let me log into Facebook. I don't even know if it'll let me log. Facebooks are some motherfuckers. Turn on app manager to use. Oh, fuck. It makes me do all kinds of shit to use Facebook. And this is, if you use it on your computer, it's a lot easier to eliminate most of these traces. You can use CC Cleaner, made by a company called Pyroform, and that's cheap. Or excuse me, the free version is awesome.
I use the free version.
I have for years, and never had an issue.
Me either.
Oh, let's see. I want to be able to read the data policy, and I don't think it's going to offer me that opportunity now. No, because I've already agreed to install it. But it says by updating, in the fine print on the bottom of my screen, can you see it, fine print? At the bottom, it said that by updating, you agreed to Facebook's data collection policy. You didn't, and it's got a little line under it, and you could actually click that line and it would take you and let you view their actual policy so that you could see just how much you're giving them. It's like giving them the keys to the city. I mean, you're basically saying that they have free reign over your device. And that includes when you've turned the device off. It's letting me log in, which is funny because this profile is still banned for, I don't know. This one's one of the ones that's, I think it's got 20 days left on its ban. No.
How do they ban it on Facebook? Do they just not give you access to get into it, or?
They stop me from accepting friend requests. They stop me from sending friend requests. They stop me from liking anybody else's post, and they stop me from posting any of my own posts.
Okay.
Yeah, like I'll try to like someone's comment. Now, when I try to like people's stuff on Facebook, it's not going to allow me. It's going to say, see, you recently posted something that violates Facebook policy, so you're temporarily blocked. Yes, because I posted a Bible verse, and, you know, Bible verses are not, that's considered hate speech on Facebook. You're not allowed to do that. I'm going to see if it will give me, let me read their privacy policy. Of course not. Privacy shortcuts. Let me just read about fucking the privacy. Not the data policy, not the terms of service, although those are both very informative reading things that people should do, but
I think if people just take the the notion, the acknowledgement or whatever of the fact that there is no fucking such thing as privacy, and just fucking be done with it. Just don't post shit anywhere that you don't want out there.
I'm reading a section that is entitled, "What Kind of Information Do We Collect?" And to provide the Facebook products, we must process information about you. The type of information we collect and how we use it depends on how you use our product. And it's very vague. We collect content, communications, and other information you provide when you decide to use our service, including, but not limited to, when you sign up for an account, create or share content, and or message or communicate with others. This can include information in or about your device, in or about the content you provide, like metadata, such as the location of a photo or the state a file was created, the date a file was created. It can also include what you see through features that we provide, such as camera. And you give them this permission. And they use this stuff the way they see fit. If you use our products for purchases or other financial transactions, hey, I've already agreed to let Facebook look at this phone because I just enabled the app and I gave them permission to collect data from the device. Now, it just said that it's going to collect information with regarding finance if I used their app or if I used other purchasing apps on this device. It's not safe. It's not safe. So you're now getting all into fucking Facebook. We'll go ahead and go through the process that one would need to do if they needed to get rid of Facebook. The first thing I would do is go over here to my little Facebook deal, and I would click on here, and this is just going to remove it. If you push on it, touch it, and hold it, that's just going to take and move it off the screen. That's not helpful, okay? So what we want to do is go back into our settings of our Android enabled device. We're going to go to settings. You see, we're just in settings. We're going to scroll up. At some point, we're going to get to some apps. There we go. Now we're in apps. We're going to find that fucking evil, nasty, fucking Zionist fucking spy app. We're going to click on it. The first thing we're going to do is just force stop it. Yes, I know. Hit OK. And it's going to take a minute because now it has to try to figure out what to do with all the fucking bullshit that it collected. And you're going to go ahead and want to run over here and go to disable. Yes. Yes. And now when you get to this point, this is after you've pushed trying to disable it again. Now you've got to turn around and limit its access to your background data. And you'll notice that it says enable usage of cellular data in the background. What data is that? What is cellular data, you may wonder? Well, this legally, lawfully, is defined as a cellular device. And any data on this device would be construed as cellular data. So when you see stuff like that, basically, that refers to, in a legal setting, anything on this device. You wonder how they're coming after you. Have you seen where they've actually come after children and charged the children with trafficking child pornography because some boy sent a cock pic to a hot girl in school? Or the vice versa. We won't pick on the boys. The girl sent a picture of her titties to her boyfriend. And that's considered child pornography. It doesn't matter that they were her own titties. She was underage, and she sent another boy who was also underage a picture of her titties. She's trafficking in child pornography. Now, as always, when you get done, just like your computer, you reboot. When you get done doing something with your phone, now they're making this harder to do. This one is still one of the cool ones because I can actually do this right here. Pull that fucking battery out. Let that motherfucker sit for a few minutes. Some of you don't have that option. In the instance where your phone's battery is enclosed within the device and is not removable, turn the phone off. Let it stay off for 5 or 10 minutes. It's not 100% safe, secure. It's as close as you're going to get at this point. Even better, don't ever fucking activate Facebook to begin with. If you have to use Facebook, you've got to use it from something safe. And that's really nothing. But the safest option at your disposal is going to be a Linux device. But most of you don't use Linux. Okay, your Windows operating system on your home computer. Not even a laptop. Because a laptop is still, there again, that's a wireless device. And they're not very secure.
Hardwired. Everything Wi-Fi is turned off here. Everything.
Now I gotta and I can I'm gonna throw some of these links into the chat as well, since apparently they disappeared earlier. They didn't disappear. It's just I couldn't really put them in there. Froggy Master 77. Cheers, friend. Thank you for being here. Sound Minds had a pretty good stream going earlier that I was listening to.
Yeah, I know. I was there. I kind of sort of was in and out, but yeah, I was there.
Yeah. We follow a lot of the. Well, it's neat because the more people that I'm meeting, a lot of us follow the same people, coincidentally.
Exactly.
It's like-minded people associate more with other like-minded people, but they never know it. You know, it's like we're all fucking running around like chickens with our head cut off, thinking that we're all alone when really it ain't that way. And opting out of Facebook's data sharing. This is another one that really gives some good tips. I should cover some of this stuff greater length, but I just don't know. You know, it's hard when you're trying to gauge what people's level of proficiency is in any subject. It's whether we're talking about fucking aliens, or we're talking about fucking assholes, or we're talking about phones, or you don't know, the general public, you don't know their level of proficiency.
Well, put it this way, most people, if I'm going to go on myself, most people, for example, a mobile phone, I had one initially when they were still flip phones. Then I stopped using that, never got one. And then my daughter started upgrading her phones, and she started giving me the ones that obviously she wasn't using anymore. As for how much do I know about it,
Yeah.
I pretty much just went in there and turned off everything that I could. It's not connected to the internet. It's not connected, GPS, everything that I could turn off, the face recognition. Are you looking at it? The fucking eye shit. Everything that I could turn off, I turned off because, like I was saying on one of my videos, I didn't have a home phone for like 6 months, and hence, with my brother being in a group home, I had to have the mobile phone. But I turned off everything that I could, and hopefully at some point I'm going to ditch the bitch back in the fucking drawer where it was initially. So,
Do you ever
most
use
people don't know a lot about it.
Google? Do you ever, like, if you're on the computer and you have to search for something, do you ever use Google?
Like as in Google search?
Yeah.
Yeah, sometimes, because my browsers, my default browser is Brave, and I use Opera as backup, and DuckDuckGo.
Yeah. I'm gonna show you all how to. Anytime you've ever in your lifetime went on Google, Google kept a record of that in your lifetime.
Oh, absolutely.
Every single time. Now I'm gonna go through how to get rid of and clean up your traces. And this isn't, has nothing to do with your device. It doesn't matter. It's anytime you, the individual, have accessed Google in your lifetime. And we'll go through how to clean up your Google history. And it's surprising. I mean, I went on there one day and it had photos that went back almost 20 years. And you searched for something back in 1994. Google kept up with that. They don't get rid of that data. You have to willfully tell them to get rid of that data. And I'm going to go through that real quick just because it's easy. So what you're going to want to do is you want to go to www.google.com/history. When you get over here to history, you're going to want to go to delete activity by. When you get to delete activity by, you're going to want to type in all time. And you're going to want to come down here and you want to click delete. And you can also do the other Google activity, which we'll go through that. Now see, it deleted all my activity. Now let's go back. Let's go down here to other Google activity. We're going to click on other Google activity. When you get to other Google activity, you're going to want to come through here and you're going to want to get rid of all of that as well. Everything that you can possibly delete, you're doing. And what you're doing is you're pulling the metadata that Google and its affiliates have uploaded to the cloud, to Google's system for storage. And you come through here and delete it all. And
hang on, I'm trying to follow you on that. Wait a minute. I'm trying to follow you on that.
Okay.
Give me a look at where you are. That's location history, other Google activity. All right.
Okay. I'm at the first page.
Okay. Other Google activity, right?
Yeah.
Location history, device information, yada, yada.
Yeah. And see, you may have some of that stuff turned on. I don't have any of that turned on, so it didn't save any of mine. But if you want to turn any of that stuff off, you can go down here, go back a page, and you can come over here to your activity controls. Now, when you get to activity controls, turn every fucking thing off. Yours are, they're all on by default. They are all on and active. Turn them all off.
So go to activity controls and you go manage activity.
Yeah. Go over here, activity controls. Now start turning shit off. Don't click manage activity. You should have to the right of web and activity. You should just be able to click the little deal and it'll go to off.
Hang on a minute.
If it's on, like I can turn mine on temporarily.
Okay, activity controls, manage location. Location history is turned off. Information is turned off. Voice and audio is turned off. YouTube search history is turned off. YouTube history turned off.
Everything you can turn off, turn off. Device information, voice and audio activity, YouTube search history, YouTube watch history. Make sure all of them things are turned off. And when
on that activity controls page, everything of mine is turned off.
Now, once you get all of that turned off, then it's a good idea to go back to the previous screen and go back and delete everything again. And you do that by going to delete activity by, click on that, drop down to your fucking delete by date, and where it says today, you click that little tab, you drop it down to where it says all time, and you go down and click delete again. See, Google keeps up with so fucking much.
I got a little box jump up and it says control what data gets saved to your account with your activity controls. Do we want to view controls?
Yeah, you can do that. Yeah. Activity controls.
Oh, okay. That was just taking me back to the other page. Yeah. Okay. Got it.
Yeah, you can go to activity controls and it'll take you to the same place. And, and when you get into each of those, like if I were to go, like, see, it says device, for me, it says device information paused because I've turned it off. But underneath it, it gives me where I can manage activity.
Yep.
Except there is no activity because I've already erased it all. For some people, there may be some activity, some remnants of shit in some of those. It's just good policy to go through them all and check.
Okay, just out of curiosity, all right. I'm on the security page, and I've scrolled down. It's gone your devices that are currently signed in have been active in your account in the last 28 days.
Yes.
How do I change the where it's from? Because it's got literally.
Let me go back. And where are you at?
I'm on security.
Activity controls. That's not going to be it. Let me go. Okay, hold on. Give me 1 minute. So I can view exactly what you're viewing. Where did you get there from?
Okay, hang on. Let me go and click to go back. Okay, data and personalization. That's where that activity control thing took me to. Yeah. Okay, so underneath that, on the left-hand side, is security. I clicked on security, and if you scroll down a bit, like past the password, past the whatever, and then it gets to your devices.
And what are you wanting to do to those devices?
Well, I want to change where it says Australia. Why can't I put a different country there?
You don't get to choose that. It's anytime a device has accessed a Google product on your behalf, it's saved that login entry.
Well, going by what I can see, most of mine is turned off.
Now, can you see my activities? Or let me put this in chat.
I can go back and I can get to my activities. The activity controls. Hang on. Location history paused. Web activity paused. Everything is off on that. Manage your activity and timeline. Things you can create, account storage, add personalization, download, delete, or make a plan for your data. That's
Making
on.
a plan for your data would mean like that's for like, let's say you, and that's something everybody should set up too. I've got mine set up for 6 months. And what that means is, let's say I get in a car wreck. How long does Google wait between the time I last logged out? How long does Google wait before they decide to get rid of my data? I don't want it there indefinitely, right? What if I die tomorrow, right? I don't want Google to have that shit forever. So I've got mine set for 6 months. You can set it any date you want. I think it's like 3 months, 6 months, a year, 2 years. I've got mine set for 6 months. And what that means is that if I do not access my Google account for 6 months, they're going to discard, or so-called discard, that data.
Okay.
And it's just a good policy. And this is a good page that I'm on. I'm going to link to this page in the chat. I don't know if it's one of those pages where a person has to be logged into their respective
They do.
accounts.
I would probably say they do.
If they don't,
if you look up in the URL, Heath, it says myaccount.google. So I would say they would have to go into their own. Otherwise, I think they'd be going yours.
Well, they can't go into mine because they would need the the access to it. And I don't allow any of that. And I block it all. Every bit of it. It doesn't hurt you none. Delete all. Ooh, I love it when it gives me an option to delete all. That's always fun. It makes me feel all giddy and like a fucking schoolgirl. I mean, that's almost better than the first climax of my lifetime.
Oh, what about location history?
Get rid of it. Get rid of it.
Mine's turned off already.
Turn it off.
Already.
Yeah, you got to turn all that shit off. See, all these boxes are all turned off. Web and activity, web and app activity, location history, device information, voice and audio activity, YouTube search history, YouTube watch history. What you ideally are looking for is when you click on the My Activity tab, and any of you that might be watching at home, you see how on mine it shows nothing. Nothing. It shows nothing of any kind. That's what you're looking for. Because anything that you can see, they can see. You don't want to see nothing, because if you can see some form of activity, some trace of something somewhere, then that means they can too. Because that's information that is being stored on their system. And they decide how they use that information. And it's real important, I mean, because people need to know the extent of what, type in Google, Five Eyes Corp. There's tons of data which will tell you exactly who and what the Five Eyes corporations are and what they do. They are not your friend. They have not been your friend in the past. They will not be your friend in the future. They allow corporations to breach international law with full immunity. And the agreement is that the United States federal government gives them immunity from prosecution, while at the same time the companies agree that they will illegally share with the United States federal government anything the United States federal government should ever ask for, period. And those are the companies, I mean, and there's a lot of big ones. We're talking Google, Amazon, fucking Netflix, Hulu, Facebook, Twitters, there's a lot of them, and they're
well,
they're
look
not
what they
just
did
saying.
in New Zealand. Just going away from that a little bit. What's that? What's that guy's name that created that? That upload. Was it an upload page? Was it Mega something? I can never remember the bastard's name. He lived in New Zealand, and the actual New Zealand government allowed the friggin', I don't know, FBI, NSA,
I
fucking
wonder if
CIA.
you're talking about. He also did an antivirus program. If I'm not
What,
mistaken.
what was it called? Is it Meta something, Mega something?
I know who you're talking about, but I
Well,
can't
the government
remember.
actually allowed the United States to literally walk in and come and arrest him.
Why
They
would he do
allowed
that?
him to New Zealand,
And
and I
why
thought,
would he do that?
because they're all fucking connected.
They are. Exactly. They are. And they break the law every day and they get away with it. And there's nothing any of you can or ever will do to stop that. But because they are given that immunity doesn't mean any of us will be. It's unfortunate. But we can't do nothing about that. But the only
Jump in, mate.
we can protect ourselves. And we can stick together so that we can better help others like us to protect themselves. And that's the best we've got to work with. That is
That's what we've got to work with. That is it in a nutshell, mate.
Hey, how's it going, Andrew Fishman? You're more than welcome to jump on if you want to. We're just shooting the shit, talking a little bit about cybersecurity and whatever floats anybody's boat. I'm talking to a fishman about boats. Andrew Fishman pops up in chat, and I start talking about boats. Wow.
I'll talk to Andrew for a second. I'm going to make a quick cup of coffee, Heath.
Some coffee would be lovely. She's got to get a girlfriend. That way maybe she'd make coffee once in a while. It sucks having to get up and do it yourself all the damn time. You can't even buy a girlfriend nowadays. Well, I guess you can if you had money. I don't ever have money, so it's like I'm trying to offer them fucking eggs and fucking organic grown vegetables, and they act like it's a bad deal. I'm like, that's a perfectly good trade. I'll swap you 7 pounds of organic, GMO-free food for, I don't know, 5 minutes of ass. It seems like a fair trade, No, a win-win for everybody. Or here you go. I will feed you. I will shelter you. I will teach you how to survive with nothing. In exchange, you afford me companionship in the way of getting up, making a fucking pot of coffee once in a while. When I have to bring in a bunch of food, you sit there and you help get it processed for the preservation step. No, you ain't got no money? Well, fuck, no, I don't have no money. What the fuck would I do with some money? Buy some shit? What the fuck do I want to buy something for? Anything that I truly need. Nature, as long as I work in alignment with, as opposed to opposition with, nature will provide. Help themselves. Nature's the same way. You can rent one for an hour. Man, the last time I tried to offer one of the local whores, I tried to offer her 4 cans of pickles and 3 dozen eggs for a blowjob, and it didn't go well. It did not go well at all for me, Andrew Fishman. Yeah. They want to get rid of nature. They want nature. They want it to be like the Hunger Games. They get you in your little micromanaged motherfucking city dependent upon the system. And nature is just something that we should be able to view from afar. They don't want you involved with nature. They don't want you learning the true nature of your reality. I don't want you figuring out who you are, what you are, where you are, and why you are here.
Absolutely not.
Hell no. I tell you what, some things profoundly change people. Though I've there's been instances where I've offered friends and family DMT as well as psychedelic mushrooms, and under controlled settings, it was a profound, life-changing experience for them.
What did I miss? Would love to get on. We'll have to get on my camera set. Oh, that's right. You can run one for an hour. That's why there is such a nature does provide 20 years ago.
Andrew Fishman, I have to, a lot of the plants that I grow around here, I grow solely for the purpose of promoting butterflies. They got to eat too. The bees got to eat too.
Actually, Andrew, that is something that is so fucking true. When was the last time I saw a grasshopper? I can't, now that you bring that up, I can't even fucking remember. Cockroaches.
A grasshopper, not a locust, a grasshopper.
Exactly. I probably, now that I'm thinking about cockroaches,
now
because this is an old house.
We know what happened to the bees.
I've seen one probably in about 6 months, which is fucking unusual for this property.
Where did the bees go? What happened to the bees? What happened to the bees?
What happened to fucking everything? Because
the bees were intentionally gotten rid of, because when you create self-pollinating genetics that have a terminator gene, that means that not only are your genetics self-pollinating, but after that plant produces one harvest, it will die. You need a way of ensuring that not only will no one else be able to steal those genetics, you also need a way of ensuring that people will be forced to buy those genetics. And how do you ensure that happens? You have to eliminate the natural pollination. You got to eliminate it. How do you do that? With regards to a bee, what do you do? Well, if you know anything about bees, the majority of the colony are the worker bees. And where are most of the worker bees with regards to a bee colony? I'll give you a hint. They're not hanging out back at the house with the bitch. Excuse me, that's mean. They're not in there with the queen. There are a few that are doing taste testing to make sure she's not poisoned. But the majority of those worker bees are miles away. How do you, without killing them, how do you kill her? You prevent them from finding their way back home. When the bees can't find their way back home, the colony dies. How do you do that? Well, you have to figure, how do bees navigate? You disrupt that navigation system. How do you disrupt a bee's navigation system? You use things that mask their ability to navigate, such as a glyphosate. Yes, Monsanto, but Monsanto isn't the only one. They're the largest. They're the fucking most common.
Well, I did a couple of videos not so long ago. One on Wolbachia bacteria, which they pretty much have eggs, but they can't reproduce. The eggs are just total waste, which means eventually that actual insect will die out.
And your bees, we've lost approximately 47% worldwide in the last 12 years. Now, here's the thing to think about with regards to bees. You, me, and every other human can only live if the bees live. There is no way to continue life if the bees die. If bees became extinct today, in less than 12 months' time, human life would cease to exist. And you probably think that that's incredible. What do you think your bees do?
The thing is, they're trying to kill off the actual food source as well, because if you look at Wolbachia bacteria, right, they didn't just fuck with the mozzies. They fuck with the mozzies, the bees, the wasps, the ants, the butterfly, I don't know what else, so that it literally, they all stop reproducing.
What do you breathe?
And all those animals that actually live off insects, that means they've got nothing to eat, so they die.
What do you breathe, Donna? What do you breathe for life? What sustains you in so far as breath is concerned?
Air.
Oxygen. Where do you get your oxygen? From the plants. How do you get plants? Who is directly responsible for 75 to 85% of the plants on this planet? It's the bees. If the bees die, the plants die. We don't have a way, we don't have a pollination dispersal method which would allow for plant life to continue.
Andrew, eventually they will, mate, because everybody keeps sitting. Nobody's standing up. Nobody's stopping jack shit. You know, nobody's stopping jack shit. Why shouldn't they fucking do it to all of us?
Oh, give me 2 seconds. I'll be right back. Hold down the fort, Don.
Yeah. Mate, I'm telling you, every fucking tree here in Perth that they can get their hands on, they're cutting them down. This beautiful, I'm telling you, in the driveway next door to me, this beautiful plum tree that's actually forgotten that it's a fruit tree. Somebody needs to whack it a few times, according to Burke's Gardening or whatever his fucking name is. They couldn't stand it because the birds were in it. They could not, fucking the neighbours couldn't stand it. They never had to clean. They didn't clean they don't clean that section of their driveway. And yet they got somebody to come in and massacre the fuck out of the tree. Anywhere they can, they're pulling everything down. And this is where I don't get with humanity, you know. I mean, people don't even want to stand up and fucking do nothing for a day. This is what is so annoying to me. That's why I just laugh at everybody now. I figure, what's the point of continuously complaining? Nobody gives a fuck. You know, and he says that. It continues because nobody simply gives a fuck. Nobody cares. You know, nobody cares. Oh, fuck it. I can't even do nothing. I can't even sit home and fucking do nothing. How hard can doing nothing be? I don't get it. I really don't fucking get it. That they are coming at all of us, not just one fucking chunk of people, but all of us. Via the insects, via the fluoride, via the water, via the air, via the food. They're coming at us from all fucking sides, and people still find it hard to do nothing for one day.
I do nothing every day.
See, so we know exactly. So we know exactly what it's like to do nothing. We're quite comfortable in doing nothing. We don't need people's permission to do nothing.
It's mine, it's mine, it's mine, kitty. You're not getting none, you're not getting none, neither are you. All right, I'm back.
That's what I don't get, you know? I mean, it's not like the information isn't out there, you know what I mean? It's really, it's all out there. The amount of people that on YouTube morning till fucking night, 24/7, you know, all fucking year, and people turn around and say they're dumbing everybody down. Well, if you have the capability of saying that, that means you're not dumbed down, which means let's stop using that fucking excuse and let's all stand the fuck up.
I haven't eaten in many hours.
Oh no.
Yeah, it's been like almost 2 hours. So I've got me about 12 ounces of water that I've introduced 1 tablespoon of borax into. So I've got me a nice, good, health-conscious beverage. If the cat hopefully doesn't drink half of it, don't drink it. It's my water. And you know, it's the middle of winter. It's cold. It's wet. It's fucking nasty weather conditions. I just felt like something quick and easy. So I'm just going to eat me a nice fucking... Oh. Of course, when you make dill pickles, you need dill. Well, where the fuck you get dill? You grow the shit. Of course, you need cucumbers for make pickles. And in this jar, I have 5 different varieties of cucumber. And these are from July 12th, 2017. Could be good. I don't know. Just had to interject my little fucking
no, that's okay. Andrew, they just don't care, mate. They really don't. Even the people that fucking watch all the YouTubes and whatever, the videos, yada yada, and they say that they get it, they still don't fucking get it. They still don't get it. They don't get how fucking bad it really is. Everybody still continues to hate one another. Let's blame it on this country. Let's blame it on that country. Let's blame it on that race of fucking people. Like it ain't fucking happening to them too. You know what I mean? People just find it easier to lay blame everywhere else, except to they need to stop and look at themselves. Well, that's where you start. You know, that's where you start. How hard is it to stop playing a game? If you were playing a game of soccer and the whistle blows, everybody fucking stops. Should I be blowing a fucking whistle? I mean, how many whistles are being blown on YouTube via videos, and everybody still continues playing the game?
What video? Is there a video on YouTube about it?
No.
Are you trying to tell me that there are people in the world that are trying to wake me the fuck up?
No, don't look.
Because if somebody was, I'd listen.
Don't look.
Now, if there's nothing better going on, I'm probably going to end up missing the ball game. I got to go to work tomorrow. I got to punch a time clock so that I can make the United States government money, so that it can in turn give money to Israel, so that
and
it
can to you over
and shit. The White Wonder pickles, the White Wonder cucumber.
Oh, I like.
Obviously, it's called White Wonder because of the white shape. All my recipes, they end up getting soggy. I've not found one that will hold up crisp years down the road.
Because you're not obviously you're not pickling them like the wogs do. Heath, can I teach you something? What you're eating at the moment, okay, now I want you to say it after me, is kiseli.
Kisserly?
Krastavci.
I can't say that.
Yeah, okay. We'll break it in two. Kras, tav.
Gras.
Kras, which is a K. Kras.
Kras.
Tav.
Kov.
Si. Krastavci.
Krastavci.
Kiseli krastavci. That's what you're eating.
Kiseli krastavci.
Pickled cucumber.
The White Wonder comes close to handling up the crispiness years down the road. And you'll notice in the bottom, we have garlic.
Yep.
And the garlic is wild garlic that's indigenous to this geographic location. I do not grow garlic. I actually hike up to the side of the mountain and I harvest wild garlic every year. And to ensure, I don't know if any of you've ever harvested garlic, you could get greedy and you could just fucking dig it all up. If you did that, though, the following years, it wouldn't come back. You need to, use a little moderation, harvest what you and your family need, but leave some. And when you do that, every year, the rest of it was here before you, it'll be here after you. You'll never have to grow garlic. You'll never have to buy garlic. And within reason, and I might be wrong, but I think garlic is a pretty common plant worldwide in most geographic regions.
What do you make the liquid stuff out of, Heath?
I use an organic distilled white vinegar. Sometimes I use a rice vinegar, depending on the particular pickled item. Oh, I'm just going to eat that big clove of garlic. I love garlic. That's good. That is excellent. But wild garlic, be prepared because it's a lot. The garlic flavor is significantly more intense when you're talking about a wild garlic as opposed to just a typical store-bought variety.
Well, store-bought variety, I mean, Jesus, when I look at garlic in the supermarket down here, I literally want to run because it looks so goddamn fake. I actually look for the Italian version, which has got a purpley color to it, and you know that is the better garlic, not the other fucking fake-looking shit.
Yeah. Oh, man, them are good. I do try to moderate the amount of pickled goods I eat nowadays because of the amount of sodium. And although I use in my pickles and stuff like that, I use just a regular sea salt. So the amount of sodium isn't like if we were using, like, say, an iodized table salt. But still, a whole bunch of salt just really isn't good for the body. But, man, I like my pickled foods.
Yeah, definitely. Definitely wog food.
If the cabbage, if I could leave the cabbage alone, I could start. Oh man, I'd love to start doing some kraut.
That is the best food for your stomach that you could ever find.
Yeah, it's lactic fermentation. It doesn't require anything.
My dad used to get a barrel.
Just put water on it.
My parents, the way that they used to do it, he found himself an old wine barrel, the old wooden ones.
Yeah.
He got one of those, and they would put like the cabbage in and whatever, and to keep it like squished down so that it actually squashes and whatever, he had this like round lid, but the lid was smaller than the actual barrel top, so you could get this lid in, right? He would put that in first, and then he would find some big ass heavy clean rock, put that in, and then they would like lid it up and whatever. Oh, I tell you what, the fucking best. The best.
There are a lot of vegetables that can be done that way. And as far as the preservation, the whatever, it's a natural process. And you don't even really have to do anything for that. The fermentation is what preserves it. You don't have to do nothing. You can just fucking water in the vegetable.
Exactly.
A a dash here or there of salt if you absolutely need it, and that's pretty much it. And it does its and you talk about because it's the same process for incorporating. You're getting probiotics the same as if you eat yogurt.
Yeah.
And so yogurt, you get those cultures, those living bacterium, and it helps the digestive system. And I love sauerkraut. I'm a big fan.
Do you make your own yogurt?
I've said for years I need to get some goats, and I need to get goats for the purposes of having a dairy source, so that I'll have my own milk. And I wanted to get into doing cheeses and stuff, and I've not done it yet. That is something
do you know, mate, when I stop and think back as a kid in primary school, because I was still back on the farm then. I mean, I would sit there, like I'd be doing my homework and I'd be watching my ma literally throwing this fucking dish like in a circular motion, like she'd be, after you stir it for so long and it starts getting thick, like she'd be making butter.
Yeah.
Butter, homemade yogurt, homemade ice cream.
Big old cheese curd. I like just the big cheese curds too. And you know why I'm a firm believer in using the goats. Cow milk, dairy that comes from cows is very toxic for humans.
Exactly.
The bovine growth hormones. You figure you're talking about taking an animal and putting on a couple 100 pounds on that animal in weeks, a real short time. The human body, I mean, you're not really, it's not good for you. It's just not. Right. It's not. And it isn't even, once you've pasteurized and homogenized your product, you're no longer getting any source of calcium from it. And that's why you've got people now that get old and they fall and they break their fucking hip and they're like, well, I drank milk my whole life. Why are my bones all fucked up? I've been drinking calcium my whole life.
Yeah.
It ain't the same. It's not a usable form of calcium no more.
When I was over in Melbourne, my daughter said to me, she goes, Mum, start drinking goat's milk. Do you think I can fucking find it around here? No bastard sells it.
Everybody around here thinks that I'm weird because, like, I've got what turned me on to it is I have an illegal brown skinned buddy. He's a fucking illegal. One of the best friends I've ever had in my lifetime. And I don't give a fuck what anybody says about him. He's one of the hardest working, most family conscious, loyal friends I've ever had. And he brought me some chips, some tortilla chips, and what I thought was just some kind of a white cheese sauce. Yeah, man, that fucking shit. I could have just took a fucking bucket of it and drank it. It was the best stuff I'd ever had in my life. And he would never really talk about it. Like, he'd bring it to me and we'd eat it and it was good. And finally the one day he's like, dude, man, you're not a Mexican, man. And if I start telling you all of our Mexican secrets, man, you might get mad at me and you might not like the stuff and it might change things. I'm like, no, dude, I just want to cut out the middleman. Fuck you. I want to make the shit myself. What's in it? He said, man, that's goat milk that that my mama makes into a cheese sauce. What? Bullshit. That ain't fucking. It was goat's milk. And I went over, I actually one time I got to go with him to what they called a barbecue. And I'm thinking like barbecue ribs and fucking barbecue sauce and beer and shit. No, wasn't like that at all. They dug a hole, and they took these goats, and they had a fire in the hole, and then they take the goats and they get these old dirty nasty fucking burlap sacks, and they soak them in a mud puddle, and then they take them burlap sacks and they wrap them fucking goats up in them fucking burlap sacks, and they throw them in a hole, and then they fill the hole back in with dirt and shit.
Yeah, that's called a hangi in New Zealand.
And then the next day, you got people out there with little shovels and shit, and they dig all the dirt away, and then you get down in there and you get them goats out, and that fucking shit, one of the best barbecue experiences I had ever had in my entire life. I mean, it's memorable because there's nothing and I'm a firm believer. I've taken big pork shoulders. I've took a hog and put it in the smoker. I've done it on hickory woods and mesquite woods and apples, and I've made special sauces and marinated shit and did this, that, and whatever. And nothing compares to going to that Mexican barbecue and eating that big old goat from out of the hole. And
yeah.
in my life, I've not been able to recreate it.
First time I ever saw a hangi was my high school days, and some of my sister's friends were from New Zealand, Maoris, and they were having a party, a so-called barbecue, like he says, and we went, and they had this big-ass hole that they had dug out in the morning, and they put, like, hot coals in there, and then they covered that up, and then they put their meat and whatever in there, and they covered that up a little bit, and then in go all the veggies, whatever, and then they cover the whole fucking lot up. And more hot coals on the top. By the time the party's ready to go, the food, that's when they kind of sort of dig it up, like he says, and yeah, it tasted fucking nice.
It would be awesome. It's like I'm sitting here and typing in the chat, talking to Andrew Fishman, and he's talking about the belly goats. Every year I keep saying this is the year that I get into goats and I get into some of these other areas with regards to homesteading. And it's just so hard because I'm one person and I do everything myself. I have no help, and I'm not trying to get pity or sympathy. I grew out several 100 pounds of food last year. I give it away. I put food up for my family, and I don't have any help. And it sucks because for like 5 or 6 years now, I had a buddy 2 years ago that was going to give me some hogs. I've got the room to do it. I've got the expertise. I know I can do this shit. I'm by myself. It's just me. And it's hard to do. The goats, it's killing me because the goats would be my source of dairy. I need a way. I've got chickens. I've got ducks. So I've got my eggs. I've got my vegetables. I've got my poultry. I need to venture into the goats because that would be a source of dairy, and I could do a lot more than I'm doing. If I could find a girlfriend, a wife type material, or a life partner, or somebody that would be amicable to getting knee deep and elbow deep into fucking chicken shit and hog shit, it would be lovely. But you just can't find people that are willing to live this lifestyle anymore. You take money out of the equation, and the average person,
they're still around. They're still around. They're just hard to find.
Where do you find them? Where do I find maybe not even necessarily a female counterpart?
Wait,
where do I find someone that's willing to live off?
You're in the United States, all right? You're in the United States. I'm in Australia.
Yeah.
I was prepared to go with my disabled brother down south, picked out a property and everything, and I was prepared to go down there, take care of him, and start doing all of that.
What happened?
To me, there is nothing nicer than sitting on a tractor and whatever.
What happened? Why didn't
you? Let's just say it got down to the point where I'd found the property. The woman friggin' dropped the price by like 100,000 K because she wanted to get the fuck off this particular property. It reminded her of her parents. Her parents had passed away. It was their property, right?
Yeah.
Anyway, which brought it down to the close to the price that I wanted it to. And I'm not going to go into detail, but the last minute I was pretty much ready to get on a bus with the paperwork to head down there. and it was literally pulled out from underneath my fucking feet. So here is a woman who is prepared to do that and would love to fucking do that.
I'd send you a bus ticket, but buses don't cross the water.
I can't find the man that wants to do that.
I want to do that. I can't go there. Fuck. I'd send you a bus ticket, but buses don't unfortunately cross the ocean.
A bus ticket is going to get me to where? To the eastern states, and then what do? Swim the rest of the way?
See, my point is I would give my entire life just for somebody physical in the world to be able to. I'm scared that I'm going to die and not be able to have said at some point in my life that I actually got to share some of what I experienced with someone.
Heath, I'm telling you, it's a different, I get what you're saying about a different generation, okay? I mean, my sisters, we were brought up looking at people that worked from morning till night on the land. Yeah. Didn't matter whether it was fruit, vegetables, fucking cows, pigs, sheep, you name it. They were constantly on the fucking go. We grew up watching that, you know? Yeah. So for us to do that, because I had people saying to me, they're going, oh shit, isn't that something that you should have done when you were around your 20s or 30s? And I'm going, fuck off. Like, why? I know my capabilities. If I'm happy to fucking go in that direction, then why shouldn't I? You know what I mean? Like, why the fuck shouldn't I? What's stopping me?
But see, I kept thinking as a young man, unfortunately I was a traveling man. Anyway, I sought out a path that I thought somehow I could change certain things from within. And I couldn't. And I come to a crossroads. I either stay on this left-hand path and I don't really feel good where it's heading, or I go off on my own and try to forge my own course through the world. And through the process of trying to forge my own way, I kept finding fault. I don't like the food. I don't like people the way they act. I don't like their fucking forsake their kids so that they can go work a job all day. And then they say, well, I didn't spend no time with my kids, but I did it for their own good. I kept finding fault. And I thought, well, for once, how do you be that change that you want to see in the world? I said, well, fuck, if you don't like the food, quit buying it. Grow your own. Okay, I'd start doing that. And the more you get into it, it's like it was hard, it's difficult, but as you get back, it's almost like I'm reconnecting with the roots of man's existence. When you start, it's hard because so many things are preconditioned thoughts that it's bullshit, but you don't know it's bullshit. And as you detach from the bullshit, it's fucking it's I don't even a profound experience.
It's liberating.
Good. Andrew Fishman said that in chat. It's profound. Yeah, pretty profound. It's exactly. When you live off the land, it's rough.
There's nothing, but still there is nothing like walking outside, even though at the moment I've got a fig tree and my mulberries were fruiting last year. But I can walk out the front and I can pick figs off my fig tree, and that's my breakfast.
Yes. And see, I've got then I got into, well, you get sick. I needed a way of learning how to extract and synthesize different compounds that could serve as antibiotics. I live in bear country. I'm poor white trash. I don't have money to buy ammo. I needed to learn how to make ammo. I needed to learn how to teach myself skill sets that would allow me to accomplish what I needed to accomplish, because most people live in a world where they are governed by the amount of money they have and or their ability to obtain money. I don't live in that world. And in my world, you have needs and you have to fulfill them needs, but you're relying on things that are totally different. And when you, I'm not just starting out. This is a journey that's been going on for 15, 20 years. I'm at the point of the journey now where I'm reaping a lot of benefit and reward from the path I've chosen. And it's kind of bittersweet, because as much as I love it, at the end of the day, it's like, man, fuck. The best I can offer is to share a fucking YouTube video with a bunch of motherfuckers that don't give a shit anyway. You realize how much fun it is when you look at a patch of mushrooms and you can pick out one mushroom and you say, you see that mushroom that's taller than all the rest? I am going to replicate that one mushroom 1,000 times. And the 1,000 mushrooms that I replicate off that one mushroom, they will look within 99% exactly the way that one does. And the average person says, well, fuck, damn, to learn all that, you got to be a scientist and you got to have degrees and you got... No, motherfucker. I needed to learn nature. I needed to learn a lot of skill sets, but I've done it. I've done it. I know how to do it. I can show you how to do it. And for me, if I take this with me to the grave, I feel like it's going to be a waste to humanity. So the only option that I have is to share what I've picked up along this journey with others. And that's the hard part, is trying to find creative ways that I can share and pass on what I've learned. And it's just it's hard to do. You make a video, they take your channel down. You start broadcasting on shortwave radio, and the FCC shuts you down. You put flyers on people's windshields at the Walmart, and the local police lock you up for loitering without a permit.
Heath, have you thought of writing a book?
I'm not. I couldn't sit still long enough. Writing isn't. That's not something I do.
Hang on a minute. To write a book, yeah. To write a book, very easy. Okay, very easy. Let me tell you. All you got to do is you forget the title. Okay, don't worry about the title. That'll come to you somewhere along the line. All you do is you pick topics.
I would have to physically type out.
Pardon?
I would have to physically type out content.
Well, you don't have to. If it's easier for you to write it, then you write it, you get somebody else to type it.
Yeah. It would do much easier if I had somebody that could take and I basically talk, they record, and then they go back and write.
Can I please tell you that Google has that?
Really?
Yes. It's speech to text.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's in Word or one of those things, but it has that.
Yeah, I've got Andrew Fishman. I've got cameras and microphones and movie cameras and video cameras and digital cameras and fucking...
Because if you can do that, then you go on to Create Space, okay, and you put that particular text, whatever, you know, obviously you would pick a picture for your cover, you would have the title, yada, yada. In Create Space, okay, you can put all of that together. It costs you nothing.
How much time would it take away from status quo?
Put it this way, if you're doing it, it's not like you have to sit down and continuously write it. You can write, you can talk about a
No, but
chapter.
there would be a logistical deduction from the current schedule, and that time slot would be reallocated to this additional endeavor. Correct? I mean, even if it was 10 minutes a day, I would have to take 10 minutes from the current to reallocate to the new endeavor.
But hang on a minute, if you're wanting to share your knowledge, we did, like, for example, you did a 5-hour live stream.
Yeah.
Now, if you took an hour off that live stream and dedicated to that book, or a half an hour today, or 15 minutes tomorrow, it doesn't have to be a certain amount of time. And if you can literally talk into something that's going to type it all out for you, once you get started and see how easy it is, I'm telling you, mate, you would just keep going.
Originally, that's what got me on what we refer to as the World Wide Web. I had an experience with the Shriners, and I seen them do things that I couldn't live with. And when I got onto the World Wide Web, I thought that the logic was that no matter whatever becomes of me, no matter what they ever do to me or compel me to do, there will be a record. And at some point, someone may be able to figure out exactly what it was I went through and exactly what I attempted to do with what I learned as a result of responding to my human experience. And a lot of stuff is still out there, but the last, I don't know, 3 or 4 years, it's like a lot has been removed. Like, you can't, being on 4chan boards and fucking damn being on the dark web and being just being on the internet, they control so much of it. They control so much of all of that data. And so when they started to figure out that they were not going to be able to silence me, the way I was attacked was they come at me the worst way possible. They took from me the one thing that meant something, and that was my history. And that's why when you Google me now, you might be able to go back as far as 10 years, but you'll find none of the contributions that I made from the 80s. You won't find none of that. I was one of the dudes that had the modem that was the size of a microwave in his living room, that you took your phone and you put it on the big box. And in the computer, you had I remember the first Windows I used was Windows 3.0. You didn't have pictures and all this shit. Oh, I'm lying. Prior to that, I had a Commodore 64. We digress. I really wish I had it was the idea was to get married, have kids, and that was a legacy that you build and you share, and then your kids replicate. Or at least in my childhood fucking mind, in the fairy tale that I thought was love and all this shit, that's how I thought things should work and how things should go. So I made a lot of decisions in my life early on that they were fucking complete fucking bullshit. Really. I didn't, at the time, I thought I was just doing what good guys do. And now as I'm older and I'm seeing the world, it's just fucking people are just fucking shit.
Heath, do you know when, like my folks, obviously, they used to have a farming property 8 hours outside of Perth here.
Yeah.
And obviously, like, you know, three daughters and one son that is mentally challenged. Yes, my sisters did help on school holidays and whatever. They actually drove the tractor for Dad for a while, but because you heard about the city, this, that, the other, whatever, yada yada, everybody wanted to head to the city, right?
Yeah.
It wasn't until I had kids of my own that I missed that farming community.
Yeah.
It wasn't until then that I actually thought about it, and I thought, fuck, I can't let my kids out the front door. All I'm teaching them is don't talk to anybody because you could get kidnapped.
Yeah.
And I didn't know that growing up. To me, I could walk for fucking kilometers with my fucking dogs, and not even my parents would it cross their mind that somebody would fucking take me. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I knew I was with the dogs, and the dogs would come home, and if I was stuck somewhere, the dogs would take them right back to me. But it wasn't until I had kids of my own that I thought, fuck, you know, like, why don't they still have the farm? They sold the farm to follow us kids.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. When you get off the farm, we were all duped into this idea of move to town, get a job, be closer to work. Everything was sold to us with the idea of things being easier, things being more convenient. We forgot who we were. We
Andrew, it's not just that,
separated
mate.
from our roots.
It's all the things that we learned. You know what I mean? Like, my dad stuck me at the age of 7 into a fucking truck. I couldn't even reach the fucking pedals, for the love of Jesus. He had to put it in gear for me.
I was the same way.
I didn't know how to do it, you know?
I was the same way. I was on big old. I was on a Massey Ferguson tractor. I had to go, and we were planting tobacco, and this seeder machine that we had hooked up behind this big tractor, it run out of seed, and the farmer guy says, "You need to jump on that Massey Ferguson tractor there. You need to drive back to the barn at the house, which was like 2 miles away. You need to," and I'm like 11 years old, and these bags are like 50-pound bags, and
Oh, yeah.
You need to get 10 bags of that tobacco and put it in the bucket on the front of that tractor, and you need to get back over here, and I'll give you better be back in about 15 minutes. Well, I ain't never drove no tractor. Well, you better figure it the fuck out. Well, how do I do that? Well, I guess you get on the motherfucker and figure it the fuck out. Well, boy, do you want me to just take you the fuck back home? I said, well, no, I really rather work the rest of the day. Well, get on the fucking tractor and go get that tobacco. Hey, it was a fun experience. It didn't have brakes, and I didn't know. I didn't know it didn't have brakes on it. I didn't know. It was fucking 100 years old, a big old tractor. Figured it out. Nowadays, coddle, buddy.
I swear I think I stopped about a half a fucking mile away from the gate, right? Because my dad needed to move the tractor and the machine to the next paddock, and he had the truck there. So somebody's got to drive the truck, right?
Yeah.
Anyway, he says to me, he says, you know, just follow me. He goes, when we get to the gate, he goes, I'll open the gate, whatever, yada, yada, just go slow. There's no rush, all the rest of this shit. Anyway, I stop about a half a fucking mile back from the fucking gate. He comes, like, he stopped, he's opened the gate, he comes walking towards me, he says, is there a problem? And I says, I was scared I was going to run through the fucking gate. He pissed himself laughing. But hey, I learned how to drive a truck.
And nowadays we coddle everybody. We coddle everybody. Do you realize that nowadays, I mean, if a kid gets his ass beat at the school, we try to pass laws that can allow the parents and kids to go to jail for getting in a fight at the school?
Mate, forget that. You got 15-year-olds that need somebody to stand on the road and hold the flag so they know how to cross the fucking road.
I remember I was in a. I don't remember. I was a little bitty kid, and there was a fight, and I remember seeing a kid get his nose broke. Blood was just shooting everywhere. It was like something from a horror movie. And the gym teacher, he come out and he grabbed them two boys and took them into the gym. And he give that one boy with his bloody nose a towel to wipe the blood off his face. And he goes to a closet and he comes back and he has us all sit down and he threw them two boys some boxing gloves. If y'all going to kill each other, you're going to at least do it safely.
Exactly.
And he made them put them boxing gloves on, and then he just sat down and let them duke it out. Nowadays, we want to arrest the parents. We want to make a law that says you can't bully. You can. We want to do away with any pecking order, and we can make any type of law, rule, legislation, regulation that we want. But I raise chickens, and I'll tell you what. You will not do away with the pecking order. It doesn't fucking matter what you think. You're not going to do away with the pecking order. A pecking order exists. It's not always fair. It's not always nice. It's not always pretty. It's fucking. Yeah, Andrew Fishman says that in Australia, they would have probably ended up best mates. Yeah, exactly. That's how it was here in the United States. And now we've made so many laws that, and then I read a thing the other day. It was talking not against single mothers, but it was talking about the fact that men, they're raised by single women. Then they go to a schoolhouse that consists of where the teachers are 80% women. There is no masculinity. They've lost that. Men don't know how to be men. And then we wonder why they don't know how to treat women.
I still think that starts from home because, hey, I brought my kids up on my own. And I tell you what, you ask my kids how they were brought up, and they'll tell you they were brought up like they were in an army camp.
Yeah, but a woman is not going to know how to teach a man to be a man. She's going to do the best at what she can. A man teaches a boy how to be a man.
Well, can I please tell you, my sister has 3 sons. My sister's got 3 sons, and not one. She taught them everything. I'm talking everything.
Yeah, chivalry and how to be able to be out in a bar room and be able to whoop ass.
Oh, they know how to whoop ass, all right.
But they'll be loving and nurturing and nice and sensitive when they get around a woman. I mean, there's certain skills that I'm not saying women can't do it, but men need positive male role models. Women need positive female role models.
But then you can also take that to another level, because not all men that are parents, that are fathers, will teach that boy the right thing.
Yeah, but we should not have created a world in which having a mommy and a daddy is wrong.
Oh, absolutely no. Absolutely no.
And
this is where I look at people that are divorced. You know what I mean?
Why is it?
Can't get on. It's nothing to do with the children. Like, allow the children access to both. You know what I mean?
And don't make mommy go to work. Don't make mommy go to work. It's not it was never an insult to me when we would be out in the fields or out working, and the women folk were in the house cooking. That's not an insult to them women. It wasn't an insult. You knew you took your fucking shoes off when you come in the house. You knew you changed the way you talked when you got around them women folk. And they acted a different way than you and the men did. And there was distinctions made and acceptable. And nobody challenged it. And there was nothing wrong with it. I never once have I ever heard my mom bitch about cooking me something to eat or cleaning up something. At the same time, I have never bitched at my mom about mowing a fucking yard, about my mom fucking shoveling some fucking chicken shit. Because there's certain roles that they're natural, they're normal. You know, they're just it is. And we've created a system of economics where if mom and dad don't both work, the house can't sustain itself.
But that was created to pull a family unit apart. I mean,
Yeah,
all of that is
exactly.
to pull a family unit apart.
All by
You
design.
know, the age limit that dropped down from 18 to 16, you have the right to leave home. We will help you. We will give you the money to find a place. All of that was designed to break up the family unit.
Why does that woman wear a bra again? Why do they wear bras?
Because they got they're not bras, they're over the shoulder boulder holders.
And you know, you got to get out there and vote, and you got to get out there and work. You're just as good as any man, so that means you need to get out there and work just the same as he does. That's bullshit. It was the intentionally the dissolution of the family unit, break the family unit apart, and the consequences weren't really being seen until I'd say the last 20, 30, 40 years. And,
Heath, my ma did everything that you say that a woman not should do, but that was her thing, right? My ma cleaned house. My ma sent us kids off to school. She made sure we got down to the bus stop. My ma cooked, and my ma during the day went and sat on a tractor and did as much work as my dad.
was there someone home when you got home from school?
My ma was always there. She
Now
was
we got
always there. She would leave the paddock to get home at the time before us kids would get dropped off, probably about a mile, 2 miles away from the house. And sometimes she would come pick us up. If she was running late, we walked home. But she was always, they were there. But the thing is, in return, my father was never ever told by my ma, you had to, not that they mowed the lawn on the farm, but she never ever had to say to him, this needs doing or that needs doing. He just kind of knew if the chook fucking big ass chook shed that they had or whatever, if it all needed cleaning out, whatever, and other soil put down and some oil sprayed over it so it stops the fleas, the ticks, the yada yada. He did that. There was never that he had to tell her or she had to tell him. Never. Do you know what I mean?
Never once have I seen my mother's hands greasy. I have never seen my mother crawl on her back underneath a truck. And I would never ask her to. Never. And
different generation, mate. Different generation. That's why I look at the fact of my generation, and I look at my kids, and it's probably after my kids that's where it starts to kind of go downhill. Because I'm still prepared to do like the things that you're saying, because, and maybe that's why I don't have a man in my life, because I think I'm always looking for somebody that is like my father. I ain't found him yet.
And you've not found him.
And that's probably where I'm wrong, because there's not a lot of those around. But
we've made excuses for inadequacy. We keep finding ways to justify, oh, well, that's the old days. You're just old fashioned. And it's just ways to further reiterate acceptance of doing the wrong thing. Can someone give me even one example of where women entering the workforce has in any way, shape, or form been a positive impact?
It hasn't, because it was designed to break up the family unit. Andrew, I hear you, mate. I hear you. That's exactly right. It's exactly right. And just bringing it even closer to home, if I look at my youngest daughter, because she's the one that's married, right? Yeah. Now, obviously, her hubby was brought up different. Yes, he's European, but he was brought up here in Australia, but he was brought up different. Me, I tried to pass on to my kids what my parents taught me, meaning you have a vehicle, you take care of that bitch, you learn how to service that bitch, you don't look after that bitch, don't expect that bitch to drive you to the fucking shop when you need to go. Do you know what I mean? So putting the two of them together, when they started building a house and stuff, you could see the difference in the two. You could see the different upbringing, because he's saying to her, no, you can't do that. And she's going, yeah, I can do that, and I'm going to do that. And she'll show him exactly how to do it. Why? Because she was taught. I mean, she knows how to lay tiles because I've taught her how to lay tiles. She knows how to lay carpet. She knows how to do all of those things. I mean, we friggin' plastered this room, laid concrete on the floor in this room. So you can still, if you've been brought up that way, you can put that instill that into your kids so that it kind of keeps going. But it starts from home. It all starts from home.
Yeah. We all need to reconnect.
My girl is butch. She's not. She's far from butch. She's very feminine, but she's not afraid to get her hands dirty.
We keep as generations progress, we're getting further and further away from who we were meant to be, who we are, what we are. And it's not, it's nowhere, any society, any civilized, which I don't even know, that's like an oxymoron, civilized society. They're like opposite. There's nothing civil at all about how we live and how we treat one another nowadays.
Andrew, exactly.
Taught swipe around fucking iPad. Yeah. I and see, I don't go, I don't in any way, shape, or form support, use, and or advocate Western medicine. I think it's a bunch of shit. It's a bunch of snake oil salesmen trying to poison people. But anyway, my mother had cancer and it was a big ordeal. And so I've been around doctors, but you'll walk into a typical doctor's office nowadays. Let's say there's 15 people in the room. 13 of them are sitting there on a fucking device. And not good. None of it's good. None of it's good.
None of it is. No, none of it is.
And that's why, like
you know what the saddest fucking part of it all is that when you actually are fully aware and you go to those places and you sit there and you see all of this happening in front of you, and it just gets you even angrier.
I cry. And people think it's a joke. I always kid and I tell people that I cry myself to sleep when I do sleep, and that's literally true. I just cry because I can't fix it, and I'm trying. I am sincerely, with every ounce of my being, trying to live a righteous life and trying to give others the benefit of knowing that there are alternatives out there. They don't have to feel alone, and they don't have to feel like they just have to go along with something that they don't full-heartedly agree with. And I say all that, but at the end of the day, I can't fix it. I can't. I'm trying, but I'm not going to be able to save the world. And I don't know. I guess I don't know. I don't know where all of a sudden I just got so fucking emotional in the last 10 years of my life. I didn't want to wake up one day and be a crybaby. But it's like for the longest time I was mad. I was really mad. I was like, man, fuck. I have
I hear you.
Hey, out. I've watched fucking shit that no human should ever have to see. And for nothing but fucking greed and fucking control. All the evils in the world, they don't mean nothing. They don't serve no good agenda. And I was mad. And when I got to the point where I wished to detach from the world in general, and I started getting away, it it was sad. I look around me and man, people, and people will tell me, well, damn, dude, you ain't got no money. I feel bad for you. And I'm like, dude, you've got money. I feel bad for you. And it's just sad to see the state of affairs worldwide.
Exactly. You see it around yourself, and people don't realize that they're doing that. You know.
I posted a picture of some Mossad soldiers. The courts in Israel had ruled that these Israeli settlers technically had rights to the land that this particular housing development was on. And you had 3 Palestinian families, and they could trace back their history like 300 years in that same area, and it was sick, man. These Israeli settlers just basically went and said, okay, well, the judge said we can, so get the fuck out. We're taking your house, we're taking your shit, and if you fuck with us, we'll fucking kill you, blah, blah, blah. And these Palestinian women were distraught. I mean, they're like, well, we've lived here for 300 fucking years. What the fuck are we supposed to do? You know, and it was heartbreaking. Well, I shared a video clip of the exchange. I had people all over Twitter that were like, well, good. Fuck them fucking Muslim pieces of shit. And it was like, what does fucking religious ideology got to do with it? You're talking about an old woman who has lived her entire existence in a house, and all you care to do is insult her fucking religion.
But yeah, there's those categories again, mate. There's those categories again. This is the thing. There's so many fucking categories, you know.
Yeah.
Andrew, I know, mate. I've seen that. I've actually, like, if I've gone out, I'll sit somewhere because one of my favorite habits is to people watch, because when people don't know that they're actually being watched, they pretty much act normal. And I see that, you know. I see that. People can't talk anymore, even though they're sitting across the fucking table from one another. Both of them are on the fucking phones. I've seen that. And that about the bus and the kid, oh God, have I seen that more than fucking once.
Yeah. They won't say nothing, but they expect that you won't either. It's like you don't want to raise your kid, but then you bitch if I discipline your kid. And it's not a safe policy.
I mean, I see, like, when I lived in Indonesia, for example, for those 2 years, like, I would watch the little kids, because the little kids go to school in the morning, and then later on in the day, that's when the older kids start going to school, right? So there's 2 different shifts. It's not like here, where they all go at 9 o'clock in the morning, whatever, and get out at 3. But you watch those little kids, and you've got, whether it's 2 little girls, 3 little girls, whatever, 2 little boys, yada, yada. And I watch them crossing those fucking streets in all that traffic, and they hold each other's hands. Nobody goes out there and holds up a flag for them. They send themselves off to fucking school. They cross those roads, those busy roads. You know what I mean? Like, it's just,
yeah.
And that's why I used to take my kids all the time from when they were little. I used to continuously take them with me, and I used to say to them, like, look at what those kids have got. You know, look what they're playing with. They appreciate that. They don't have any more. But yet they still, you know, make do with what they've got. They still laugh. They still have fun. They still whatever. You know, it's not about the fucking clothes. It's not about the whatevers, you know, the brand name. It's about none of that. But again, it goes back to home. It's what you teach your kids. But then that can't happen, because then, like you said, you take it back to parents have to work. And again, it goes back to the same thing. It's literally pulling the family unit apart. No different taking those people's houses and whatever. Best way you can fuck people up is take where they've lived all their life. Take it all away from them.
And it just kills me that when I'll share this stuff, not because I'm siding with Palestine, not because I'm siding with Israel, but just because look at who we're hurting. We're not hurting a Palestinian. We're not hurting an Israeli. We're hurting another person.
Exactly.
If I hurt you or anybody else, I'm hurting me. We all fucking look here. This earth, this world is all we got. All we got's each other. And we all make this place. You, me, every color, every race, every creed, every origin, every nationality, every religion. Who dies in a war? People. People. And who are people? You're people. I'm people. The people that completely disagree with us and don't like us, they're people too. We're all people. Why do we have to hurt each other? What is so wrong with loving everybody and helping everybody so that the greater of the good is accomplished and we all succeed?
Because it's easier to hate, Heath. It's easier to blame somewhere else.
How would it be easier? I mean, who would it be easier for? There is no instance in which it would be more convenient for me to hate somebody. And any instance that would come along that I could justify hatred, then I need to re-fucking take a good look at my moral compass. And I really need to take a long, hard look about my own personal morality or lack thereof.
That's right. We all got to look in the mirror.
And we, well, the government said that I can pick on you, but I'm a protected person because I'm a chosen one. And no matter how much I pick on you, you best not say nothing against me. I even seen where now, I don't know, Andrew, have you seen where Ben Netanyahu, he's got several conservative Republican American politicians as well as some Democratic politicians, and he's doing that whole fucking, we're going to keep having problems unless we, we're going to have to attack Iran. We're just going to have to. We just got to. I've been saying this shit for 20 fucking years. What the fuck has Iran ever done to anyone?
Exactly.
What have they ever done? I'll shut my mouth the minute someone tells me what Iran has ever done. What did Gaddafi ever do?
Exactly.
He was against a central bank. He was against the petrodollar. But other than that, what did he ever do? Why'd we kill Saddam Hussein again? What was his crime? What the fuck is up with these regime changes? What the fuck is that? The people that are in office ain't doing what we say, so we're just going to kill them and put someone else in there? Is that what a regime change is? Yes, Andrew Fishman, I'm aware of the fact that so-called United States Congress, 39% of its members are dual citizens. They are Israeli citizens as well as American citizens, which is a direct threat to national security. But hey, what can you do?
Andrew, I actually spoke when I went looking for a fan for my laptop here when it shed itself. And where I actually found, or one of the places that I went to look, was this tiny little computer place in the city, right? And it was owned by a man from Syria and his missus. And I started talking to him and I mentioned what was going on, right? And he turns around and he says to me, he goes, who made the US, the world police? He goes, we like our president. We don't have a problem with our president. Do you know what I mean? And this is coming from the same people that you know what I mean? Everybody, like you says, just because one country doesn't like another because another person in control, because they won't follow their orders, they wipe them out.
I
Like what?
hope that on a world scale, the world knows that us Americans, we're not like our government, and in conjunction with Israel, does a lot of stuff, and we're not a part of it. And they tell us to do things, and they tell us to feel things, and they make a bunch of lies, and they expect us to treat people based on propaganda. And I hope that worldwide people know that there are a lot of us Americans that know it's bullshit, and that government does not speak for us. So whoever is in chat or whoever sees this at a later date, we don't you know we get a lot of a bad rep, and worldwide a lot of people hate Americans because of the things that Israel and our government do in our name's sake or whatever, and we don't agree with it, and it's wrong. And I don't have
The
any
thing is,
worry.
though, Heath, the people, and this is taking into account people that I've spoken to, like in Europe and Asia and whatever, the people that I've spent time with, they don't see the American people doing anything. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
And therefore, they think that the American people are just in agreement with whatever is going on because they're not seeing the people doing anything.
yeah, and the people that are doing things were silenced.
That's right.
I've got on Twitter. I've got a pretty big Palestinian friendship on Twitter, and I get direct messages all the time. They're like, "Well, why don't you ever post on some of Israel's war crimes?" And I'm like, "I do all the time." There, when I post, if I post something on Twitter that opposes an Israeli perception, those posts, an American can see that post, and an American will say, "Oh, you fucking traitor! You're against Israel. They're our friend." And then what the Palestinians see is nothing. They don't even see the post. So it's like we're fucking fighting a losing battle. It's Jewish controlled media. 6 corporations worldwide own every single newspaper outlet, radio outlet, television station. And those 6 corporations are Zionist owned.
Andrew, exactly.
And for anyone that wants to fucking try to, that doesn't know anything about language and wants to say, "Oh, well, you're an anti-Semite," keep in mind there's a significant difference between a Jew and a Jewish person. A Jewish person is similar to a Jew, but they are different. The ish always means what the ish means. It means like. It means close to, similar. They share some things in common.
What I don't get too, Heath, is like, for example, going back to people, going back to humanity, like if you're not being, my whole thing was that you had a military so that it could protect the chunk of dirt that you stood on in case of invasion. Now,
Yeah.
unless they slept through something, I never saw or heard, like you said, Iran. Okay, did they come across to the United States? Russia, did they invade somewhere that I don't know? Did they invade Australia? Did they? Do you know what I mean? As far as I know, no fucker invaded anybody apart from the West invading
And
all of them.
we've invaded other countries. It has not been because America chose to invade other countries. Andrew in chat mentioned a minute ago about Israel Congress. Our government is we're a puppet on a string. Our government serves an interest. It is not an American interest. The United States federal government is a foreign-owned corporation. It is not anything to do with America or Americans. That is why if you come to America, the capital of America is considered Washington, D.C. Yet Washington, D.C. is not in America. Washington, D.C. is its own sovereign entity. It's completely separate. It's not a state. It's not a territory. It's not a country. It's a fucking whatever the fuck it is. It isn't even in America. And that's what few Americans and probably a lot of people worldwide don't comprehend. The United States federal government is making decisions on behalf of America, but the United States federal government is in no way, shape, or form American. And we Americans get to take the blame for all of them actions. Americans don't police the world. Americans were not responsible for Vietnam. Americans were not responsible for the Gulf War. Americans are not responsible for bombing and or attacking Afghanistan, Pakistan, or Iraq. That was the United States federal government, and the United States federal government serves interests that are not American.
Exactly. I totally agree with you. Iran will not be doing it on its own, because I tell you what, somebody even remotely starts shit over there. Oh, hell, are they all coming together? That's no different, which I say again, I reckon that it was Trump's job to stir shit in Asia, to cause a ruckus there. And I kept saying, he better be careful, because it's going to like backfire like all fuck. Because they will stick together. They will pull together. Whether North Korea, South Korea can argue all they want, they can have different fucking rules, laws, policies, whatever the fuck you want to call it. But when it comes to kicking ass, they're going to actually approach one another and they're going to become one.
And all of our debt, if we piss China off, we're dead. If they call in the debt that we owe them, our economy collapses. And here's what's fucked up about that. China come to America, to the United States federal government a couple years back, and China said, look, here's what we'll do for you. You get rid of the Israel influence from your government. Get rid of it. Quit allowing Israel to make this, to control how you act on a geopolitical scale. Quit allowing them to influence you. We will not only forgive most of your debt, we will promise $12 trillion over a 3 to 5 year period to jumpstart your economy. You know what we did. Well, we can't take that deal because Israel tells us what to do. And so Americans, we have to constantly pay back a debt that isn't even our debt. All them wars that we go around starting and shit, we get stuck paying for that shit. And it isn't even, we don't even choose to do it. We don't choose to go to war with nobody. We don't want to fight nobody. They just, Israel makes us do shit. And that's what I don't grasp, is how and why.
Well, see, it comes back to the fact of if people know that and the information is out there, how hard is it for people to say, well, no, we're just going to stop? Do you know what I mean? Just literally fucking stop.
In America, Americans have been duped into accepting the ideology that Jews are God's chosen people. Well, here's the problem. Jewish people and Jews, they're two different peoples. And the terrorist state that was formed as a result of the signing of the Balfour Declaration in 1948, that was what established political Zionism as a world superpower. Political Zionism is ran by Jewish people. The Jewish people are running around the world trying to masquerade as being God's chosen people. Unfortunately, Americans are stupid. I'm not trying to be anti-American or unpatriotic. Americans are dumb. They don't do their research. They don't study world history. They don't try to educate themselves. So when Americans, which are predominantly Christian, Americans see Jewish people, well, that's the Jews. That's God's chosen people. I'm a Christian. It might not be right, but I can't piss off God. I got to do what his chosen people say. And it unfortunately gets us stuck in a lot of precarious positions. Yeah, we're dumb goy. Oh boy, the goy no.
Andrew, I think that is the hardest, is that the people don't want to wrap their head around the fact that their government could actually be fucking them over.
Yeah. They're scared.
I mean, like I've said before, and this is nothing against anybody personally, but if you take just the military and the vets and the families that have lost children, families that have lost family members through having to go fight, not because they're being invaded and they're trying to stop the invasion, but because of oil and Lord knows what other fucking shit. Can you imagine if they all came to the realization that they have lost family members, that they're living on the street because their government has actually fucked them over? That's a hard pill to swallow.
A lot of us, like me personally, I don't want money and I've adapted my life to living without it. But it bothers me when I know that I served my country faithfully with honor. And now that my body and my mind are broken, I'm expected to live on less than $12,000 per year as a disabled American veteran. And every Israeli family living in Israel this year will be given $23,000 to sustain each Israeli family in Israel. And that money will come from American tax dollars. Why is an Israeli family that does not like me allowed to live better of a life than I am off of my back? While meanwhile, as a disabled American veteran, I'm expected to live in shit and squalor, and there's nothing I can do about it but accept it. I just don't grasp why. It bothers me. It does. It literally it fucking tears at my heart. I don't want their money, and I'm not bitching because I have to live in shit and squalor. But why do we have to pay them? Why do I have to give a percentage of everything I ever earned in my entire lifetime to another country? Why can't I take that money and instead of supporting leeches, why can't I make my country a better place to live for my kids and my grandkids? And it's sad because, to take it a step further, that other country is carrying out policies and actions worldwide that are reflecting negatively on my person and the people like me. I don't want people in Pakistan to develop a hatred for me based off of something that I had nothing to do with. I don't want people in Turkey or Yemen or fucking anywhere to not see me as a good, righteous, productive member of humanity based off of something that a small little group has chosen to do. I don't agree with it. I don't comply with it. I don't advocate for it. But when we look in the news worldwide, do we hear and see people like me, or are we seeing more death, destruction, chaos that Americans are causing worldwide? And who's going to take the blame for all of that destruction? Is it going to be me and my family?
Oh, it'll come back onto the people, mate. It always comes back onto the people, no matter what country you look at. It's always the people that end up copping the shit. It's not the bastards that are sitting, at the top. I mean, they're all safe and sound. They're all family. Their families are safe and sound. Their kiddies are safe and sound. They're right out of line of fire of anything.
Yeah. And like Guts in chat, he said that it's because it's all part of the plan for world domination by the master race. And here's the sad part about that. You know who the real so-called, if we believed in the biblical master race, do you know who the real biblical master race would be? You'll never hear about them because they've been kept impoverished and hidden away from the world in squalor ever since. I'll give you a clue. If you go to certain parts of Africa right now and you get out into the bush, you're going to find tribes that speak versions of Arabic language that haven't been heard in thousands of years. It's the richest continent on the planet. There's more gold, diamonds, oil, and other natural resources in Africa than there is anywhere worldwide. But why do you have to keep them people in shit and squalor? You've got to keep them hid. Why do you keep them hid and away from knowing who and what they are? So that the people who are impersonating them can claim all the credit. So when you think about in terms of a master race, even the ones, if you believed in the idea of that so-called master race, the ones that are running around the world acting like they're chosen, they're not even the real chosen. They're pretending to be the chosen. It's sick. It's shit, and it goes back so many years. None of this is new.
Because people haven't changed. The only thing that's changed over the years is technology. People haven't changed. People are still doing the same shit. They're still doing the same shit. They're still sitting back. They're following the rules. They're playing the game. Nobody wants to rock the boat. My job right now is great, and my kids are plump and happy, and it's all the me. Because humanity hasn't changed. Technology is the only thing that has changed. Humanity has not.
It's almost as though humanity has to continue on a plan regardless of what that plan means for humanity. Many opportunities have popped up, and just in the course of my lifetime, where we could have made choices, and we keep choosing to hurt each other. I mean, it's just like, I remember when I was hearing about the Gulf War, and they were talking about these weapons as a mass destruction and shit. My argument then and my argument now, what do you know about nuclear physics? Is there a such thing as a nuclear weapon? Because I personally don't perceive there is. So before I go killing a man's family because I think that man has nuclear weapons, I would first want to do enough investigative research and prove for myself that nuclear weapons even existed. And then all of a sudden, a few years later, they got to be here somewhere. We ain't found them weapons of mass destruction yet, but we know they're around here somewhere. They just got to be here. And then we hear a few years later it was all a fucking lie. It was all a fucking ruse. And how many people, how many families were destroyed as a result of that ruse? But yet, now I'm just a stupid conspiracy theorist that had the audacity to say nukes might not exist. When I said nukes didn't exist, it wasn't because I was trying to be crazy. I was trying to make it obvious how important life is. And before you do things that result in loss of life, you really sincerely need to know that you're doing the right thing, because anytime a life is lost, the world suffers for it. Every time. There is no small life. There is no life that is not important. None. I don't give a
Like,
fuck.
that's where I don't get, like, I mean, I've been in chats where people celebrate, they have a party because their child is going off into the military, and I think, what exactly are you celebrating? I don't get it. Are you celebrating that your child may not come home? Are you celebrating that your child is going off to possibly kill somebody else's child? I mean, what is there to celebrate?
Yeah.
Knowing what we know, what the fuck are these people celebrating?
It's
I
disgusting.
don't get it.
It's disgusting. I mean, just disgusting. I mean, and we fuck. I don't know where we got this idea that we could make light of life. And when you look into the precursors to wars, somebody bombed this, somebody bombed that. Statistically, what percentage of the targets ever result in the destruction and the loss of military targets? No, it ain't the military. It ain't them people that are not the ones losing their life. It's the elderly in the nursing home. It's the kids at the school.
That's right.
Sick people at the hospital. It's the moms with the little babies at home waiting on dad and the older kids to get home. That's who dies. Yeah, soldiers die, but the soldiers and the military targets make up the minority of the total loss. yeah, the fake gas attack. Yeah. I've read into a lot of that. Andrew Fishman. We'll say anything to get into a fucking war that we don't need to be into. War's a big business. It's almost as profitable as cancer. What the Hegelian dialectic? All fake. Anyway, I think I'm gonna end this stream now, Perth. It's been fun, excellent talking with everyone as always.
Thanks for having me.
Oh, it's a pleasure all the time. Andrew Fishman, Gut Boy. Who have I had earlier? Let's see, friends. Just going back up to the chat.
Yeah, I think they all. Well, I came in and everybody seemed to leave. So.
Mother Nature was here earlier. Canadian.
My armpits, I'm clean.
Yeah. I will see everyone tomorrow. Talk with everyone.
Later, people.
Hey, everyone have a good evening.
You too, mate.